Today's episode is sponsored by the Rising Tide Mastermind. The Rising Tide Mastermind is where people just like you get together every week to help each other with issues. Let's face it, issues are hard, so why start from square one when somebody can tell you what they've done with a similar issue? If this sounds like something that's interesting to you, go to scalinguph2o.com/mastermind to see if the Rising Tide Mastermind is right for you. Welcome to the Scaling Up H2O podcast, the podcast where we scale up on our knowledge so we don't scale up our systems. I'm Trace Blackmore, the host of the Scaling Up H2O podcast. And Nation, today is the very last day that if you want to save 10% on getting a course that will build your confidence in you achieving your Certified Water Technologist designation. So if money is a motivator and you want to save 10%, now forget all the things you get when you achieve your Certified Water Technologist designation, where all of your peers know exactly where you stand in the industry. Your customers now know a whole lot more about you even before they meet you because of those three letters, and so much more. But if 10% off pushes you over the edge, then please, today, the last day, go to scalinguph2o.com/CWT prep and put in promo code CWT10 for your CWT prep course. This course is designed to build your confidence so you can proudly schedule that exam because you know exactly what you need to study, and you're going to get so many standardized test-taking tips to build your confidence so you can schedule that examination. One more time, that's scalinguph2o.com/CWT prep and put in code CWT10. That code does end today. And as I said, when we are at the AWT convention on October 4th, I cannot wait to shake your hand and congratulate you for getting your CWT. And I also want to congratulate you if you haven't taken your CWT exam yet, but you have it scheduled. Folks, please let me know that information. I know this is something that you can do. And being a CWT, I know the reasons why you need to do it. So, Nation, it's up to you. Can't wait to shake your hand. Hey, here are a few things that you might want to add on your calendar. And as always, you can go to scalinguph2o.com, navigate over to our events page, and we'll have all the information you want to know about these events and more so you can go to what is going to help you devour more information in the water treatment industry. The American Society for Healthcare Engineers is having their annual conference August 6th through 9th in San Antonio, Texas. And then the APTech Mexico in Mexico City, Mexico is having their conference hosted by the Water Quality Association September 5th through 7th. And finally, the Association of Metropolitan Water Agencies is having their Executive Management Conference October 22nd through 25th in Coronado, California. For these events and more, find out all the information that you want to know by going to scalinguph2o.com. Speaking of information that you want to know, here is a brand new periodic water table with James.
Hello and welcome to the Periodic Water Table with James, where we think and learn about water chemistry drop by drop. Please use your week to search online, ask your colleagues, or even pick up a book to learn more about each week's periodic water table topic. If you do, at the end of the year, you'll be 52 water chemistry smarter. So let's raise the water table of knowledge together and get started. Today's topic is Polyphosphates. What are polyphosphates? What are some examples of polyphosphates used in industrial water treatment? What function do they serve? Are they corrosion inhibitors or scale inhibitors or both or neither? How do they work? What pH range are polyphosphates most effective? Are they synergistic with any other water treatment chemicals? Can polyphosphates revert back to phosphate? What factors can increase this reversion? Do you use any chemical products with polyphosphates in them? Remember, knowledge is power, and taking the time to learn more about water chemistry each week will help make you a force to be reckoned with. Be sure to post what you learned to social media and tag it with hashtag WaterTable23 and hashtag ScalingUpH2O. I look forward to learning more from you.
Scale Up Nation, I mentioned the upcoming AWT conference on October 4th. I hope that is on your calendar, and I hope that I see you there. But today, we are going to talk about last year's annual conference, and there is an award that acknowledges all of the things that are fine suppliers that give us the wares in order to do what we do for our customers each and every day. And the Association of Water Technologies looks for certain criteria to celebrate our suppliers that are just really knocking it out of the park by doing the very things I just mentioned. So we're going to be talking to them today on our interview. My lab partners today are the Matts of APTech Group. We've got Matt Horine and Matt Haikalis. How are you guys doing today?
Doing well. Thank you, Trace.
Nice. Thank you.
Thank you for coming on Scaling Up H2O. We're going to talk about a lot of things today. We're going to talk about APTech Group, what you guys do there. But I want to start off with who you guys are and introduce you to the Scaling Up Nation. So if you guys will, please let the Scaling Up Nation know who we're speaking with.
Good deal. Thank you, Trace. Yeah, I'm Matt Horine. I'm the president at APTech, APTech Group. Been here for 21 years this summer. So my second career job as a chemical engineer out of college. So it's been very rewarding, and enjoy very much being part of this team and a leader of this team, but also a part of this industry.
I'm Matt Haikalis. I'm the vice president of sales here at APTech Group. I joined the team, 4.5 years ago. Prior to APTech, I worked for a company called Crown Solutions, starting in 2001. Spent close to 18 years with them in various roles, starting out in the field, cutting my teeth, learning the business, the technologies, just how to solve problems and interact with customers, and moved up to regional sales at one point, and also spent some time in the technical department.
Well, welcome both to the Scaling Up H2O podcast. I thought we'd start out with talking about the prestigious award you just received. And I think a lot of the members of the Association of Water Technologies do not know what happens off camera in actually getting that award. So congratulations. You all received the Supplier of the Year award last year.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I've been on the board for AWT. I know they just don't give those things out. There's lots of things that you have to do. You have to prove that you're here for the industry. So what was that process like? Somebody called you and said you were nominated. What happened then?
Yeah, actually, Matt and I we'd been at a customer visit out on the road, so doing a little road warrior work, and Matt gets a call. I can't remember if I was driving or he was driving, but he answered his phone, and I can hear him going, "Yeah, okay, all right, yeah, well, we're going to Vancouver," and he gets off the phone, and he goes, "Hey, we were just nominated for Supplier of the Year," so like, oh, that's really cool. So that's kind of where it started, and then we're like, okay, I think we got a shot at this. And, over the summer, and as we're making up our plans, and we're like, yep, we got to make sure we're there and there on Friday night in Vancouver, and we're not leaving, and make sure our travel plans accommodated that. And sure enough, there maybe a day or two into the conference, and people are like, I think you guys got this. And we got a good feeling then. So very exciting, and definitely Jim Heimer, our owner, wasn't able to be there that week, but I think he was proud that we were there to be able to receive it and accept the awards. So, and Katie Lee as well. So, just the leadership and the management and ownership of the company. It's something they've worked at for a long time and been a part of their life and their family. So, certainly a measurement of success and joy and accomplishment.
So you prepared a speech. You didn't know if you were going to have to read it or not. Is that what was going on?
I'm not a great preparer of speeches. I'm more of an extemporaneous speaker.
All
So
right.
I kind of, in my mind, I had probably the 4 or 5, things I knew I wanted to touch on. And, they called Matt Haikalis' name. He's like, Matt, you need to jump up there and do this. So I was like, okay, I got this. So no, it's, you know what you're proud about, the work you put in, when it's been tough, when it's not been easy, and when it's been very rewarding. And this is one of those. So things come off easy. And it's funny. I was a little bit more trembly or shaky than I thought I would be going up there because, by the evening I kind of knew it was happening, but you still get up there and you're like, man, this is pretty cool. And there's a fair amount of people out there in the audience.
And I think they still do this. So this is kind of the behind the stage magic, but you get a prop reward and they actually ship you your real award. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, they gave us, it's a little, it's like just a little bit smaller than a piece of, a notebook piece of paper with some thickness. But then you get a proper trophy award that gets shipped to the office, and we've got it displayed out here, just out. We got actually the one they handed out showing one place, and we got the bigger one showing in another place. So very good to have that, and it does stir conversation when people come in. And it's something easy for us to talk about if we've got local leaders, maybe people from the Westchester Township business community come in, or your bankers, your insurance, your vendors come in, and tell us about what's going on. And we're like, hey, we got what's this, and they, I think they all feel a little part of that too.
And I'm sure when you're talking with your customers, they feel proud to do business with somebody that's won an award like that.
For sure. And I think as we've evolved over the last, I'll say, 5 years, and certainly coinciding with Matt coming on board and us really diving in to want to be, while we're a vendor to the water treatment community and water treatment industry, we also pride that we have people on our team and our staff who have worked in the industry or part of the business, understand the science, the technology, and that bit of it. And, we're able to really be a resource. And I think this is kind of that proof in the pudding that really paid off.
Well, congratulations again. That is no small feat.
Thank you.
Let's talk a little bit about APTech Group. How did the company come to be?
I guess I'll take that one since I've been here since I was employee number 4. So if, lots of people listening will know Jim Heimer. He's still our owner and kind of semi-retired. He's enjoying the snowbird life a little bit, so hasn't returned here to the relatively nice weather in the north as of yet, but he'll be back in a few weeks. But so Jim had been with Calgon early in his career, so that's where he cut his teeth, water and water treatment, and through looking to move back to Cincinnati, getting some other experiences in chemical distribution. Him and a partner started a company called Applied Process Technology. So you can see where APTech came from, and which was a more traditional water treatment company, much like the rest of the AWT membership, and that's when Jim got involved. But so they would manufacture for themselves, but also had their book of service business. But in the late 90s, when Jim was introduced to the solid products, he decided that, man, this is something, I still got enough of my career left. I want to do something a little bit different, see if I can make an impact. And they split the company in late 2001 or early 2002. So the other gentleman kept that bit of service business and traditional direct water treatment sales for however long. And I think it still exists to some degree, but Jim kept the manufacturing bit focusing on solid products. So starting in incorporated 2002, there were 3 employees I hired on in July of 2002 as employee 4. So Jim, Todd Lee, and myself still exist as part of the business 21 years later, and all good friends and, almost family so it's good stuff.
If we have somebody listening today that is just familiar with traditional chemistries, the liquids that we all use, how is solid chemistry different?
It's really not. We are using the same kind of set of raw materials that you would be using in your liquid products. The key with us is, we're putting in all actives. So every bit of the chemistry is derived from the actual raw materials that have functional properties and purposes, once they get into the bulk water or into the feed water, depending on the type of application you have. So the real twist of it is we're not adding any additional water or any other kind of neutralization chemistry. We do all that in house. We handle the solubilities on the front end, take all that water weight out, and give you something that's tightly packaged, that then you reconstitute at the point of use. But functionally, they're highly active, highly functional, high performing chemistries. We utilize great partners within the AWT. So, other suppliers like ourselves, we rely on for those raw materials. So, in a nutshell, it's just a different way of doing it, but achieving the same type of performance and results.
Yeah, we'll tell people, we're not chemists or engineers that are trying to come up with a new way to control calcium carbonate or to prevent corrosion. We're, again, as Matt said, we're relying on the experts from the industries, from the other raw material developers and producers. And we want to make sure we stay up to speed and we're able to utilize those, formulate those into our products, and continue to offer the best formulations we can. And I think, we've got a lot of flexibility in the way we do things and our techniques, and we continually get better. So we're able to address, the varying water chemistries that you get across the country, across the US, and through our international distribution too. So very rarely do we have any situations that we can't develop a chemistry for. So we have very few limitations in that sense, much like a liquid formulator would. So you can, adapt and come up with a unique solution when it's needed.
Now, I know you guys produce products for cooling towers. Does that also include closed loops and boilers as well?
It sure does. Cooling towers are our bread and butter. Cooling tower inhibitors, bread and butter. It's about 60% of between 60 and 65% of our production is cooling tower formulations, and that's just the kind of that's not too dissimilar from the industry as a whole, just based on consumption and cycling and all that. It's just what it is. And our products do have a good fit in HVAC applications. So air conditioning, whether it's in a building like this or a school, a hospital, whatever it may be, a hotel. But we do have a full line of boiler products by component, or the kind of traditional all-in-one or one drum treatments, so we can blend them that way or break them out. And then our closed loop line is, I think, really cool. We've expanded on it over the last years. We invested in some capital and tableting equipment, so we can make anywhere from hockey puck size tablets down to, I don't know, ones that are about the diameter of a quarter or a nickel and only 10 to 20 grams. But nitrite, molybdate, traditional good closed loop corrosion inhibitors, with buffering, with some polymer in there for some dispersion, azole certainly in there as well, and then either nitrite or molybdate for the primary corrosion control. And beyond that, some adjunct boil out chemistry or chemistry you could use in a closed loop to clean out post commission or pre-commission clean, some descaling, some iron azole supplements.
Yeah.
So it's a full line. I think that's really cool because you start looking about what makes things different or what. When you got to consider using a solid product, sure, there's some considerations you take in. Do I have the right equipment? Do I have you talk about that closed loop, you're putting the tablet in a pot feeder instead of pouring a liquid in. And we got cool calculators that'll tell you, hey, I need to raise my nitrite, 50 ppm. You put in your volume or your anticipated volume, and they'll tell you exactly how many tablets you need. Dissolve away in 5-10 minutes at most. And that's a good one. So we're looking to expand on that for sure. So we feel good that we are able to touch those main three facets in our type of water treatment, being cooling, boiler, and closed systems as well.
Can any system be converted over to a solid product system?
Yeah, we like to look at it from a best fit standpoint. So we never want to, look at things that are too big of a stretch. If the material balance is such that it's more appropriate, utilizing liquids, or if you've got hands-free delivery and the ability to bring base storage in, no worries there. Our thing that we look at is the systems that are just, they're tough to manage because there's a lot of just chemical management, handling, logistics, disposal. Let solids do that for you, and focus in on the areas where you can, you need to leverage that larger demand with liquid programs. So I would say we want you to focus on what's a best fit for you, for your organization and for your customer. And a lot of that is just, if you stick with the kind of that best fit area, I mean, that I think resolves and helps, the overall program and offering and adds value at the end of the day. So
we're not going to sacrifice, performance for our customers and their customers and prospects and their client base by trying to say, hey, you need to use our products here, there, and everywhere, right? As Matt said, best fit, ideal fit, speaking this language. And you know what? If we can educate everyone on ideal fit, best fit, and where to use our products and provide them a good experience, they're going to find the spots, and then they're going to that builds the trust. It builds the, hey, these guys aren't here to try to just, sling some goods, right? We want to provide a solution that's the right solution in the right spot. So I say, it's finding the round peg for the round hole instead of trying to jam it and something in the wrong hole and it doesn't work, right? And we've told people when they come in, people are like, oh, this would be a great application for solids because it's so hard to deliver there. But it's like, no, you're not going to have a good experience. Your customer's not, and you're going to put your business, maybe not their whole business, but that piece of business potentially at risk, or you're going to spend a lot of time for something that's not going to provide the results. So we want to be open and honest. And I think that's where this background, certainly that Matt brings and leads up with the water treatment experience from 20 years in the industry and having been out there, that he's got a good sense of it and he's able to relay that with our team to our customers.
What equipment is needed in order to utilize the solid technology?
Yeah, for like ongoing programs. So, programs you want some level of automation, monitoring, control, you're going to need a dissolver. And what we call our Ultra M, that's going to cover about 90% of your applications. So the products that we manufacture, the core products are primarily in our paste form, and that paste can be formed out in several different ways. We can cast it into bottles that go in the Ultra M dissolver, or you can put it into a disc form, which is stackable inventory, which is really nice. It's more inventory on hand. It's the ability to add inventory on the fly and things like that. But for the most case, that Ultra M dissolver is going to cover. You need to repressurize. So you're going to use your standard chemical feed pump. And the same control methodology you're using for, liquid program equivalent, you're going to apply with solid products. So that's going to be boiler cooling primarily. With the tableted products, these are more slug dose, manually applied. So there's really no equipment outside of, I need an opening in the system. So a pop filter feeder and or a tower basin or something like that, where you can just simply apply the product and move forward. So a couple different ways to get there, but it's really simple technology. Once you kind of understand that I need pressure to generate enough spray, it needs to contact the product, it will dissolve rapidly, I will make solution. You can test for the solution strength with just simply conductivity. So it's, you learn that, you're pretty much down a path of being able to apply solids.
Well, let's explore that a little bit, where you talk about concentration strength, because I think everybody's concerned, well, how do I know it's dissolving at the same rate? What if it's hotter? What if it's colder? So how do you know?
You can check, as Matt was mentioning, there's, spot check when you're on site to kind of get you, hey, and we've got charts on our product bulletins that says, hey, if I've got this much TDS in the reservoir, or, whatever my conductivity is, that'll say, hey, I'm at 0.5%, or I'm at 0.75% solution strength. So that gives you a baseline. But our big game changer for us, certainly on the cooling water, was being able to trace it with PTSA and be able to monitor it that way. So if you get a little bit of swing, your pumps are just going to accommodate that and feed a little bit longer to get you to 100 parts per billion or 125 parts per billion or whatever you may be shooting for. That was a game changer for us, and that big piece of our cooling water business was being able to have our inhibitors traced in that sense. So that's been, I think probably 85+% now of our cooling water inhibitors that go out, people are utilizing the PTSA, and then obviously the monitoring equipment available on the market that complements that. And yep, I think we wouldn't recommend differently.
Also, go into the disc form of product. You now have a kind of a fixed surface that you're spraying up against. It's not something that's changing over time through the course of a bottle, dissolving something down. The discs you're basically bringing the product and the water to the same level consistently. So it really makes, very good, consistent solutions, over time. And Matt was talking about, you got, process monitoring, the variables that you can do, ORP. So the primary oxidizing biocide we use does respond well to ORP. So you can always do feed verification, understanding that ORP has its, nuances. There's changes with temperature and pH that ultimately affect. But the key is does it change? At what rate of change do you have? Just to at least confirm you are achieving some level of product application.
In installing the equipment needed for the solid program, what are some of the things that people might want to anticipate a customer might have extra questions about?
Sure. I think, a couple of things you always want to kind of prepare for in advance is obviously understanding if you have wall space or, if you've built out a little platform coming off or, kind of a semi-wall coming off that you can use. We actually have a pretty neat gadget on our app where you can take a picture using the camera on your phone and it'll spatially put in a dissolver. So you can kind of go, it'll fit there. So I think that's just an understanding. Our dissolvers are pretty sleek and don't take up a lot of space, but you need a little bit of space above so you can make sure you got room to add chemicals. We recommend the pump being below because you maintain flooded suction. So that's a good practice. So tools are basic, drill. If you're going into a solid wall, whether it's, concrete screws or you're going to use anchors or something like that. But people typically, they're often put them in on unistrut or something like that. So just whatever kind of anticipating what hardware you might want to get it mounted. From there, level and plumb is important. So we still utilize the magnetic float valve. So it's non-electric. So we don't have any electric requirement, which is nice in a wet location for sure. And especially as we've gone international, we don't have to deal with CE requirements and things like that. But that best when that float is hanging completely vertical. So you want to be able to accommodate that. So that's good. Other than that, it's always good to have a local shutoff with water right there. So if you do need to do any maintenance or take a unit out of service, it does have its own little shutoff, but it's nice being able to shut it off upstream. And one of the things we're always trying to remind people is we find it because we have a little diaphragm solenoid in there. There's more stuff coming through building water sometimes than you realize that gets caught on that little solenoid. So serviceable filter anytime you can up front. So that's always good. We took the approach not to add any backflow as part of our device and let the installer refer to the local regulations. So we know that varies from city to city by code. So certainly anywhere where you can install in a mechanical room after the RPZ is great, but just something that someone should consider when they're going on site. So different than some of the older models we had. And I know in the wear wash and laundry feed, they often come with a vacuum breaker or something like that. But we just saw so much variance, from this city to that city to this state and, that locality that we thought it better to let the installer take care of that. So just kind of a note there. But certainly another option too, when going through installation, there's partners out in the industry that do a lot of the panel and skid mount systems for all your kind of a feed and control equipment. Most of them are willing to work and come up with pretty cool looking panels that, incorporate solid dissolvers. And, whether we coordinate with them shipping, a customer might purchase 3 and say, hey, can you ship them to, this fabricator or whatever? And we can do that. And we're happy to do that and work with them as needed. And those are great companies as well.
What are some of the pressure requirements that are needed for the dissolvers?
I think on the low end, we really need to just have 20 psi dynamic pressure for the unit to operate sufficiently, which in most cases you're going to have. So there are, some, rare instances where, other uses in the plant might starve pressure, but, 20 psi dynamic pressure is, I think, reasonable. If not, they do sell fairly reasonable booster pumps. We know we have some customers that have, maybe the insulation in a penthouse in a tall building, and it's maybe for whatever reason they don't have sufficient boost to get water pressure up there, where just a little, electric inline, pump could get you that little boost in pressure. So, but 20 psi dynamic is what's needed.
I think we designed the current dissolver pretty well too. With the solenoid doesn't, you can live at 20 psi, and there's not a lot of pressure loss just in our fittings and things as well. So, and maybe some earlier models did need, maybe closer to 30 or 35, which you did maybe more frequently run in. But I'd say in the last several years, that's not a very common question we get. But to Matt's point, if you do have a penthouse, that's probably the most likely place. You're in the 30th, 40th floor in a city center somewhere. But again, not something that can't be overcome.
I've heard of a lot of AWT companies are for safety reasons saying if I've got to carry pails up a wall that's attached to a ladder and go out of a hatch, that's very dangerous. And they're requiring solid chemistries. Are you hearing things like that?
Yeah, that's been a common one. I mean, you'll get a call or have a conversation with someone. They're like, "You're not going to believe this. Someone's still tying a rope or a cord around a handle on a 5 gallon pail and, taking it up to a rooftop unit somewhere." And I was like, "Man, that is not a great idea. Those handles aren't meant to do that." But so we do hear that, and they are identifying that that's an opportunity because these guys can go up that ladder maybe with a backpack on, and you can put in the couple, whether it's bottles or the discs that we have, and go up there, and you've got a dissolver located up there. So you take care, you address that delivery issue by installing that dissolver up front, and you take care of that appropriately. Then it's a matter of getting that product up there when needed. And the other thing too is with the size and the compact nature, if you've got a little cabinet or something up there, you can keep several months worth of inventory on site without, it's not having to need a several square feet or an area on, you're not utilizing much floor space or anything to maintain inventory. A small cabinet, small, if it's inside a mechanical room, just a little corner to stack boxes on a shelf, you can keep, half a year's worth easy on, especially on some of those type applications where the chemical demand's often not huge.
What is the volume difference? So we all can visualize a 5 gallon pail, a 30 gallon drum, a 55 gallon drum. So what is the equivalency from something we might have from a solid product?
I think, so kind of if you take it real quick and start back at like dosage considerations, an average dosage on one of our scaling corrosion inhibitors is going to be, say, 20 to 30 ppm. So, if that liquid blend is somewhere between 100 and 125, so, where it is 80 to 130, you can kind of see that, we're 4 to 5, maybe 4 to 6 times more concentrated. So I typically look at like a 30 gallon drum. If you take a 250, 270 pound, divide that by four or five or six. That's kind of, I think on a scale and corrosion inhibitor for a cooling tower, that product, that's pretty much my kind of gauge. Over in the past, you run into people that have 10% active liquids, and you go, well, here you got 50, almost 50 pounds in this case, so that's 500 pounds. That's kind of where, over the years that had become a little bit of a rule of thumb. But certainly over the years, people have made more concentrated liquids. Those have been able to be more readily accomplished. You look at the boiler water, it could be more like a 15 gallon kind of container, sulfite, or if it's an alkalinity booster, when you start just comparing what the actives
Yeah,
are.
there's a high solubility in some of those. Amines can be stuffed into a liquid form at a fairly high concentration. So it's not quite the equivalency there, but certainly on the cooling water side, there are some appreciable gains that could be made.
I know we worked with one customer where we did some unique, custom formulation. It kind of worked out that each bottle or each unit in there was basically worth it was almost exactly equal to their 5 gallon pail. So, those four bottles in there, 20 to 25 gallons. For them, that worked out quite well because it was a good, their mind, they could get around that.
Now, I live in the South, so we don't have this issue normally, but apparently in other parts of the country, it freezes. So I imagine that you don't have to have any worry about your products freezing.
No, that's not been that issue that we've ever been made aware of, and it has been something we've touted. And we have several good customers in Canada, right? So, where you're able to distribute and utilize our product and truck it across that country, where it's certainly very cold in the wintertime. And even in the U.S., Chicago, Minnesota, Wisconsin, that bit of the country too, where it's pretty cold for several months out of the year. So, I think that has been something that wasn't something that was set out to be an intended benefit, but certainly something that's been realized in certain geographies.
What are the top 5 troubleshooting tips that you want to make sure everybody out there in the Scaling Up Nation knows if they're going to start using solid chemistries?
Yeah, I mean, I get this all the time, and it really gets back to my water, treatment roots and being out there in the field and servicing and just looking at things that prop up. I mean, start local, start small, right? Am I generating solution? If I know that I am, then I move upstream or downstream from there, right? So I am making good solution. That means the dissolver itself is functioning well. I've got sufficient pressure. Things are lining up on that end of things. Do I have pump prime? Do I have pump capacity? So we are making very safe solutions. We're not, having to drop pH down to 2 or drive pH up to 12 or 13 to keep things soluble. We've done all that in our manufacturing process. So when we do generate solutions, they are on the weaker side. They could be anywhere from 10 to 20 times less concentrated at the point of use in the dissolver, but that's by design. So the key for us is you need to make sure that you've done the math to know what's my material balance of the solution I'm generating. How much do I need to transfer into the system to achieve dosage? So to me, it just kind of go into those things. Is my math working out? Have I generated solution?
Well, where that relates to probably over the years, one of the biggest things is, do I have a big enough pump? I go, all right, I'm going to use solids in this application, but I'm going to utilize the pump that's there. And they've got a 12-gallon a day pump because that was feeding what was coming out of a pail, 5-gallon pail. And that does not deliver enough solution. So certainly having big enough pumps, often a 24-gallon a day is, but we certainly, if you can pull it off and they're starting scratch, 48, 44-gallon a day, that's going to cover most things. And that's probably one of our number one. And as we've vocalized that and made that part of our trainings, and when we're out in front of our customers, service, sales and service teams, just reiterating that, I think that's overcome a lot. Over the years, that's been the number one thing, right. I think.
Yep.
Again, I mentioned earlier the serviceable filter in front of the dissolver. That's just going to, it's going to solve a little, just something that, you get a little piece of debris on that diaphragm. And why is my dissolver, why is water coming out of the overflow port? Well, it's working the way it should, but there's something it's not physically closed. So making sure that's there. And one thing I think, don't forget the dissolver, it's a working, moving piece of equipment. While it's got minimal moving parts, it still needs some attention on a regular basis. Whether it's a cleaning, a PM, just someone's got to put their eyes on it. The same way you would a pump or a controller or whatever. You got to take a look at it and say, hey, yep, on this service visit, it's in good shape. I can verify it's working. I'll check it out next month. And it's going to take you a minute, 90 seconds to give it a once over, and you feel comfortable that, hey, you left it in good working order. So I think sometimes there's a perception, I can put this on the wall and forget about it for a little bit, but it is it's a piece of equipment, right? So nothing complicated, but if it's not attended to properly, things tend to trend the wrong way.
When I teach water treatment, I normally get on people because they don't understand the volume of water they're actually treating. And you guys have come out with some great products to figure out how much water you're treating. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, we've got an app that we developed internally. So it's Android, Apple's web app you can use. So it's a great tool. I know when Matt's talking to folks or other technical sales team are talking to folks, often it's let's open up this app and work together through it. And, basic operating data, water chemistry that everyone has, they've scratched on a pad somewhere. They just know because they're in that market so much. You type that in and fill that out, you can get some pretty handy information pretty quick, and on site, on your phone, on your tablet, whatever. You can have a pretty good understanding of what your chemical demand is going to need. Am I going to need, a case, a bottle, say a week, a bottle a quarter, a case a month, whatever it may be. And you've got that. So if you can get down and get into, as Matt's saying, understanding that mass balance, knowing how much product you anticipate using, that's your starting point. If you anticipate what you need and you're regularly comparing what your usage should be to what you anticipated to be in during your survey. So we'll get comments, well, your product's not dissolving or it's dissolving too fast. Well, did you check one of the residuals, whether it's the phosphonate or maybe it's azole, if you want to check that to a backup, or just following your PTSA, and someone will say to me, oh, it's dissolving too fast. Well, what's your PTSA level? It's at 100 parts per billion. You're feeding in proportion to what the demand is. The reason it's dissolving too fast, quote unquote, is that your system needed that product or something like that. So always making sure that, hey, yes, you might perceive that a bottle used to last you 2 weeks and now it only lasted 1 week. But if your parameters are testing accurately in your bulk water, then you're following load the way, or following the operating conditions the way it should. So something to maintain. And then the reverse of it is, I've got people who have said in the past, oh, this stuff isn't dissolving. Well, back to Matt's point, check the solution strength in the reservoir. Oh, it's exactly where the product bulletin says it should be. Well, that means you're not delivering it to the system either fast enough because maybe your pump wasn't large enough to deliver the need, or we had someone that had a check valve installed backwards. A pump is not working. So those are things that if you understand, and again, just to hammer home Matt's point, what your system should be using and utilizing like our app to get that number dialed in up front, and you compare and reconcile that, you set yourself up for success. And then I think, Matt, you want to touch on, we're talking about other tools and products. We've got the PTSA tablets that we've developed for system sizing, which is critical in all your calculations.
What a novel, product. It's, for us, our PTSA tab's going to, keep the lights on here and it's really going to be, astronomical. No. But what it is, it's a tool. It's an ability for, a water treater to simply carry a small tube of known, mass of PTSA, utilizing the Solid Guide app. So, eyeballing this, it looks like it's maybe a 5,000 gallon system, but I'm just not sure. Well, the app says I need to add 5 tablets to start with. So you take a background PTSA, you add the 5 tablets. You need those system volume turnovers and mixing to get that well dispersed. You can run your PTSA tests over time and see it kind of peak and then plateau out as long as I got blowdown shut off. What a great way to quickly, determine system volume. So great for condenser waters, cooling tower applications, things like that. There are some process loops, chilled hot loops you could use it in as well. The key is with anything else with PTSA, know what the interferences are. But just having the tablets, I think, are nice versus, kind of partially putting in a bottle or one of the liquid equivalents on the PTSI. So we knew we could make it. We made it, we built some tools around it, and it's pretty cool. And in fact, the demand for those has really picked up. Yep. We get orders, pretty much weekly for tubes, whether you need a single tube or a pack of 10.
I think as much as we can empower and arm the water treaters with good tools, good athletes, good players, good craftsmen use good tools, they can create good results. So I think as long as we can continue to do that and instruct, the folks how to use them, how to utilize it, that makes us better and makes the utilization of our products better. I think some of the system sizing stuff and things Matt's brought in, people's minds about that, considering, turnover in the system, half-lives and things like that. There's been systems before, maybe just on basic operating dynamics, we'd look at and go, man, the solids either going to be tough or they're going to be great. But you can now factor that, take it to that next degree and go, yeah, this can be done. There's not a problem here, or this biocide feed is going to work, or this inhibitor feed needs to be different because of those situations when maybe just the standard kind of calculations don't pan all the way out.
So you have an open mic directly to 20,000 listeners. What do you want to leave them with? What do you want to make sure that you drive home from this conversation?
I think be open-minded and take that kind of 30,000 or 40,000 foot view when you take a look at an application and say, why would APTech's products or solids be an ideal fit here? And let's work with that. And then from there, feel free anytime to contact our team. We are here to empower people and make it better and make it understandable and connect all those dots. It's not magic. It's not, it's not a black box. It's not, anything complicated. It's good chemistry packaged in a unique way that we've worked on honing for 20 plus years. And with the team we've got, we want to help people utilize it and make their lives and then their customers' lives easier, better, more simple. And so please feel free at any time to reach out. Everyone here is motivated to help, motivated to participate in helping our customers. And we're an open door, open window, open mic, whatever, open phone to answer those questions.
My biggest thing is, you always are seeking to add value, to create value, solve problems. We've got a lot of quivers in our arrow in this industry, whether it's technology, it's expertise, experience we can leverage. My big thing is every conversation, that I have with folks is I want to leave that person or whoever I'm talking to with just something a little bit more. That's kind of how we've been approaching things, here, since I came on board was, how can I create value, to you and your organization? And it can be as simple as I've got product technology, or I've just got some experience in something that I'm just passionate about that I want to share. So, I mean, that's the, kind of fun part for me, transitioning from the other side of the business to the side of the business I'm on now, which is a supplier, vendor, and partner. And it's fun to kind of utilize the things that I've learned over this years, dealing with end users and the market itself to now supporting it. And it's been fun. So, we like talking to people, and we want to talk to people.
And Matt was saying, it can be about our products. It can be about water treatment in general. We want to, as we were saying when talking earlier about the supplier of the year, we want to be a part of the industry. We appreciate being a part of the industry, and it's a big industry with lots of different, as Matt was saying, technologies, options, techniques. We're one of those, and we're happy to talk about it. We're happy to learn about other people's stuff, and we're happy for collaboration. That's one of our core values is collaboration. So we're relatively smart folks, but hey, we're not the smartest, and hey, we'll take on whatever people bring to us and have open dialogue, conversation, because we're constantly learning. And I think I speak for myself, I'll speak for Matt. Probably we got a lot more work in this industry ahead of us as guys in our mid 40s. A lot of more fun to have too.
Well, Matt Horine, Matt Haikalis, thank you so much for being a guest on Scaling Up H2O.
Thank you, Trace.
Thank you, Trace. Appreciate it.
Scale Up Nation, I just want to take a minute and thank all of the people that serve our industry. I think of all the people that I call on a regular basis when a customer needs something, when I need something, when one of my people needs something, and we might need a solution. We say, hey, we've got to do this, and we don't know how to do that. Do you have a particular product that will help us get to that outcome? And each and every day, I know we are all using our supplier members to help us become more successful. So, Nation, I just want to give a shout out to all of the suppliers that help us in the industrial water treatment industry. We simply can't do what it is that we do without them. And it's my hope that you're utilizing them to their fullest extent. They are experts with what they provide and what they do. So don't think that you are bothering them. Don't think that you have to continue thinking the same things you've always thought about the same equipment that you continue to use. So whatever the equipment is, reach out to the trusted advisors that your company has and find out what are the latest innovations that they're coming out with. What are some new ways that you can use the equipment that you have that might save you time each and every time that you service? One of the offerings that most of our suppliers will do for us is have training courses, whether they're virtual or they actually come to your office and allow you to learn about all these new innovations that they have, or they're just simply answering the questions that you have on how you can use their wares even better. So if this isn't something that you've considered doing, I know for a fact that they would love to do it, and it will make you better. It will allow you to spend less time doing the things you don't want to do, so you can spend more time with your customer. And after all, that's what service is all about. So please reach out to these fine folks today and make sure you're taking advantage of all of the suppliers that allow us to do what it is that we do. Nation, I hope you had a great Friday, and I will talk with you next week with a brand new episode.